No problem at all. No. I thank you for having me today. I have my own speaking notes here. I believe you do have the annual report from 2025 for your review. I can certainly answer any questions that you may have with respects to the report, but I'll just go off of my own speaking notes for this presentation. Overall, very consistent year within Southwest Middlesex area. Criminal code offenses, we did see a 52.6% increase from 2024 with our statistics. In Highway Traffic Act, we did see a 9.2% increase in charges that we laid within this specific area as well. Total charges as a whole were down by 2.4%. That could be as a result of a lot of different, when you look at totality of the circumstances, they charges, they also incorporate warnings in that, and our warnings went down within this area and enforcement did go up in this area. Some of the statistics within enforcement related to traffic, speeding charges were down by 17%. Seatbelts went down by 25%, but impaired driving charges went up 100%. We had 24 related impaired driving offenses in 2025 compared to 12 related impaired driving charges in 2024. Distracted driving charges were consistent within this area. So distracted driving is anything that would have electronics in their hands while we were able to view them. We did have one in 2025 during that time specific to this area. Fatalities within the Southwest area, we did have 2 in 2025 compared to 2024 where we had 1. We had 2 people killed as a result of those fatalities. One was as a result of a motor vehicle collision, and the other one was a snowmobile collision. For our sexual offenses and violent crimes area, we did see a 60% increase in sexual offenses. We went from 5 to 8 in 2025. And violent crimes, which incorporates anything from a simple assault to anything that is firearms related. We did see a 10% increase in violent crimes with 33 incidents related to violent crimes within the Southwest area in 2025. Break-in enters, we did see an increase of 12%. And theft unders, theft overs, there was an increase as well from 21 incidents in 2025 to 10, from 10 in 2024. In theft over, so over $5,000, we saw a decrease in 69% in that area. And frauds, we saw a decrease as well within this specific area, which is always good because across the county, that's frauds on the rise. Victim services, something that we've been working very hard towards is referrals and increasing our acceptance rates. Across the province, we've had a 33% acceptance rates when it comes to victim services, and happy to say that Southwest has a 44.7% acceptance rate. So that's above the average for the county, and we'll certainly look to, it's very complex to see why that is, but we'll certainly look to the methods that we're employing in this area compared to the rest of the county and see if there's anything substantial that we could do differently across the county. Some of the things that we'll be working on and collectively across the county and specific to Southwest is maintaining the high traffic enforcement within this area. Certainly our presence in the area is very important to us. We are working on establishing some bicycles within the county as well, which will increase a different kind of presence, whether it's foot patrol or bicycle patrol within Southwest area as well. And working with our analysts and our street crimes unit to develop where these hotspots are with the thefts and break-in enters, because we did see a spike within those areas in this community, and to develop some type of strategy where we can have some type of presence and put resources in those specific areas at specific times as well. And that would conclude my presentation.
Thank you very much. It was brief, but you have a lot of weight on your shoulders, and we thank you for the services. We'll open it up to questions from council. I'm sure there'll be some. Any? Yeah, go ahead, Martin. Councillor Vink.
Constable, I see the number of hours patrolled is down a fair bit in 25. I don't think our cost went down, but how come the patrol hours are down quite a bit?
So the patrol hours are calculated. I don't know that it would be an accurate stat. So the patrol hours are calculated by the amount of hours that someone is actually patrolling in their cruiser. The presence of the officer is one thing, and the patrolling of the officer is a different thing. So if the calls for service are, if an officer is on a call for service, that means they're not patrolling. If they're on a traffic stop, that means they're not patrolling. So they calculate those statistics and those hours based on what the officer is actually doing. So one of the ways that we try to really look at what an officer is doing within a certain area is holistically. So looking at the charges that that person has, the amount of calls for service and investigative hours that that person is doing as well. And then looking at that workload and the hours that the officer is working, and then comparatively looking at that, saying, okay, is this officer doing what the public is expecting them to do and meeting the expectation of the organization as well? I think in totality, we are very happy with what we are seeing from our officers in Middlesex and specifically to this area as well. We have seen an increase in the overall charges when it comes to Highway Traffic Act charges. We know from statistics that yes, warnings do work, but actual enforcement does reduce fatalities and increases public safety. So that's one thing that we're really happy about there. So that would be my response to the lower potential. I wouldn't look at that just objectively and say that that's an accurate way of looking at overall police presence within the area.
Any further questions? Okay. Inspector, we're very pleased that we have the OPP building in Glencoe, and it's been utilized for some time with the OPP. It's more of a there's not a command center, but it's more of a sanctuary or an office type area. It must have some value to you, that building. Could you speak on that?
I mean, it allows our officers within, so we have officers that live and reside within the communities, and a lot of them that report to the Glencoe area live within this community or around this community. So that provides them that intimate knowledge of the community, which is very important to us as well. Having officers being able to be present and report and do their administrative work as opposed to traveling to Strathroy or London also provides us a better response time as well. So there are, those are two major factors of having a reporting center in Glencoe. The benefits are, the disadvantages for us is that we don't have our people reporting in one location. However, we have a broad and very vast county. So having multiple reporting centers is important for us to make sure that we can actually provide that quality policing that the county deserves.
Okay. Inspector, thank you very much for that. It is a considerable line in our budget and in our levy, and but we know that it's important, and we appreciate the work that you guys do, and the ladies, both men and women officers do. They're very proud. We are grateful for that. We will receive that report for Information Council. Is there a mover and a seconder for that, please? Yep. Okay, Councillor Myers. Councillor Haggett. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much again. We'll move on to number 5, the consent agenda. Council, I'll read these off. If there's for some reason you want to pull it out and speak to it, do so. just raise your hand. We can take action on it immediately. If it's more complex, we'll move it to new business. 5.1, draft regular meeting of council minutes, February 4th. 5.2, Middlesex County Council highlights, February 10th. 5.3, voucher reports, January 2026. Yes, go ahead, Councilor McGill.
Yeah, could I just ask a couple questions
Sure
about
can.
vouchers? I noticed
Just
there's
a minute now. Where's our treasurer? Is she just left? Okay. All right. Okay. You want to still ask him? Maybe Amanda might know.
well, okay. I noticed some donations and it said 2025 donations, but they were paid out in January of 2026. So were they in fact 2025 donations? And when would we typically pay out the donations? Because it seems it should be
Amanda can
sooner
speak
than
to
that.
that.
Through you, Mayor, Council and Councilor McGill, great question. So given some of the changes we've had in our finance team over the last year, I will say that the donations for 2025, some of them had not been completed being payout. We received a request for some of them in late December of the year, and as such, we issued payment in January. There still are a few remaining from 2025, and our treasurer has proactively put together a plan to ensure that all of our donations approved by council for 2026, as well as any outstanding ones from 2025, will be issued by the end of this month. So groups who didn't receive the allocated donation in 2025 will get a letter explaining that it outlines both years, and then also the full amount for both years.
Yep. Follow up. Yep.
And then of course the treasurer would check to make sure they actually did whatever they were, requesting donation to, because I know there were some donations we approved, but then the event never happened. So in that case, we wouldn't pay it out.
Yep. Yeah, Denise, we appreciate the work that you and Amanda do on that. But Councilor McGill, those are good comments, and I'm sure they'll, I see Amanda jotting notes right now. So yeah, we'll move forward on that. Any more questions on vouchers? County of Prince Edward Resolution of Support Bill, Protect Our Food Act, 5.4.
Yep, I mean,
Yes.
I'd like us to support that one. It's about, it's from Prince Edward County about preserving farmland.
Okay. And you'll move that, will you, Councilor McGill? Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Vink? Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we will seek a recommendation to have 5.1 to 5.4 approved with action taken on 5.4. Is there a mover and a seconder for that, please? Yes, Councilor McCollum, Councilor Haggett. Questions? In favor? Carried. Okay, now we have gone through the consent agenda, and as I indicated when I opened the meeting that we would move 7 to 5 directly after the consent agenda. Therefore, the chair declares that this meeting of council be temporarily adjourned at 8:19 to permit the holding of a public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act 1990. And the chair will make that a declaration as opposed to a motion. We will begin 7 to 5, official plan amendment application 06-2025 and zoning bylaw amendment application P15-2025 submitted by Silver Dove Estates Incorporated in care of John and Sandra Benjamins, 4838 Switzer Drive. Alana, can you kick this off for us?
Thank you, Mayor, through you. So before I begin, I'd like to note the agent for these applications is now Barbara Rosser. So the report still states Trevor Benjamins. So the purpose and effect for application for official plan amendment 06-2025 is to establish an open space special policy area 1 designation to permit a residential use in the form of a single unit dwelling and an accessory building. And through consent to sever application B11-2025 and zoning bylaw amendment application P15-2025, the applicants are requesting to create a rural residential lot, and the current open space designation within the Southwest Middlesex official plan does not permit residential uses. The purpose and effect of application for zoning bylaw amendment P15-2025 is to rezone the proposed severed lot requested through consent to sever application B11-2025 from site-specific open space OS-5 zone to rural residential RR zone to permit residential uses in the form of a single unit dwelling and accessory building. The retained lot being the balance of the Silver Dove Estates campground would remain unchanged. And the purpose and effect of the consent application for B11-2025 will be discussed during the Committee of Adjustment. So the subject applications are designated open space within the Southwest Middlesex official plan, and they're zoned OS-5 within the zoning bylaw, and the lands are designated agricultural areas according to the county official plan. The lands contain natural heritage features, including significant woodlands. This property was previously subject to a consent to sever application in 2016, which sought to sever a 14.6 acre vacant parcel, now municipally known as 4990 Switzer Drive, from the Silver Dove Estates campground for residential purposes. And the application was conditionally approved by the Committee of Adjustment, and conditions were fulfilled within the permitted timeframe. The property was also subject to zoning bylaw amendment application P7-2017, which rezoned the severed parcel from open space OS-5 to restricted agricultural A3. And comments were submitted by the County of Middlesex, which indicated the county did not support the application, as there appeared to be no policy direction within the county or provincial policy documents to support the creation of a residential lot on the subject lands. So some policy and regulation considerations to note for the subject applications. Section 2 of the Planning Act indicates that the council of a municipality shall have regard to matters of provincial interest. And this includes a number of matters such as the protection of agricultural resources of the province and the appropriate location of growth and development. Also, Section 3 of the Planning Act states that decisions made by planning authorities shall be consistent with the provincial planning statement. The provincial planning statement states that the creation of new residential lots in prime agricultural areas shall not be permitted, except in accordance with surplus farm dwelling severance policies. The subject lands are located within the agricultural area designation of the county official plan, and the county official plan identifies that all of the agricultural area, comprising all lands outside of the identified settlement areas, is determined to be prime agricultural areas as defined by the provincial planning statement. The county official plan states consents shall only be granted if in conformity with the land use designations and policies of the county official plan and the local official plan. The Southwest Middlesex official plan states that lot creation shall be considered in accordance with several matters, including whether the use and severance is in conformity with the policies and land use designations of the Southwest Middlesex official plan, as well as the county official plan, and also the effect of any relevant matters of provincial interest as declared by the Planning Act. The subject property is zoned OS-5 zone, and according to the current zoning, campground or trailer park, mobile home park, and propane transfer facility are permitted uses. And also this zone allows for accessory uses, which includes a single unit dwelling, a dwelling unit, and a swimming pool. So this application is requesting to create a residential lot in a prime agricultural area to which there is no policy support. The establishment of residential lots within the prime agricultural area is prohibited by the provincial planning statement, the County of Middlesex official plan, and the Southwest Middlesex official plan. As guided in all three documents, residential lot creation is primarily limited to identified settlement areas, with only one exception being surplus farm dwelling severances. This is due to the settlement areas being designated and zoned to permit residential uses and where infrastructure is available to support residential lot creation. So while the lands are designated open space according to the Southwest Middlesex official plan, as mentioned, The lands are designated as agricultural areas according to the county official plan and are determined to be prime agricultural areas as defined by the provincial planning statement. This proposal would be considered residential lot creation in prime agricultural area, for which, as mentioned, the county official plan policies, as well as the provincial planning statement and the Southwest Middlesex official plan do not support. The planning justification report for this proposal indicates the occupants of the proposed dwelling on the lands to be severed would be in proximity to the Silver Dove Estates campground and would be able to assist with operations. It's important to note under the current zone, a single unit dwelling is a permitted accessory use. Therefore, the goal to construct a residence for family to support the existing campground use is capable of being achieved without a severance. Additionally, the lands to be severed would be used for residential purposes, although residential use as a primary use of the lands would not meet the intent of the open space designation, which is intended to be primarily recreational. Staff is of the opinion that the subject applications are not consistent with the provincial planning statement, do not conform to the County of Middlesex and Southwest Middlesex official plans, and do not have regard for Section 2 of the Planning Act in relation to matters of provincial interest. With regard to comments received during the circulation of the public meeting notice, agency comments were received from the Public Works Manager, the Drainage Superintendent, the County Engineer, the Chief Building Official, St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, and Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, and these comments are included within the report or are attached to the report. No public comments have been received to date, so staff recommend that the report be received for information and that the county official plan amendment application be refused and the refusal be forwarded to the County of Middlesex, and that the zoning bylaw amendment application be refused for the reasons outlined in the report. Please note any reference to B7-2025 in the recommendation is an error, and it should actually be B11-2025. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alana. The applicant or their agent are able to speak to this now, and our staff will make sure that you're connected there. Yeah. I'll give you a minute. If you could turn your mic on, that would be great. Yeah. There you are. You're connected. And if you could state your name for the record, it would be great. Okay.
Good evening, Your Worship, Council, and staff. My name is Barbara Rosser. I'm a planning consultant retained by Silver Dove, Inc. And I was not the primary author of the planning justification report, but I did review it and concurred with its determination on consistency with the provincial policy statement and conformity with the County of Middlesex official plan and the Southwest Middlesex official plan, and that it represented good planning. There are a couple of policies that I'd like to point to that were not referenced in the planning justification report or in the county planner's report. I think it's important with regard to this, or I guess I should first say that John Benjamins and Eric Foss, I'm sorry, from Silver Dove are here. And so they have provided me with some additional information as well tonight. The campground consists of 193 seasonal campsites, 6 sites that are 11-month occupancy and 22 that are 12-month occupancy. I think it's very important with regard to this particular proposal, and I'm going to just refer to it as proposal because it involves 3 planning applications, that the uniqueness of this property is acknowledged. And that's because it's a heavily wooded site. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the site. It's dissected by a water course, fairly deep ravine. I took it to be maybe the tributary of the Gentleman Creek, but I noticed that the Conservation Authority letter, I think, referred to it as drain. So regardless, there's a water course that dissects the property. It's substantially regulated by the Conservation Authority, and I believe it's the only private campground in Southwest Middlesex. It's been in operation since the early 1970s. Presumably at some time prior to it commencing operations, there was an official plan amendment approved in the former Eckford Township. And that was carried forward then into the Southwest Middlesex official plan and zoning bylaw once those documents were prepared. The purpose of the application, as has been mentioned, is for succession planning. Eric Boss and his wife, who's John Benjamin's daughter, are becoming increasingly involved in the operation, and they are shareholders in the corporation. However, they're young people, they're in their 20s, and to justify financially building a new house on the campground property isn't feasible. They wouldn't be able to get the money in the way of a private mortgage for that. And there's lots of people that find themselves in that situation that it's necessary to have a separate lot for mortgage purposes. The planner is correct, of course, in terms of at a high level, this property is within a prime agricultural area. And that's inclusive, of course, of soils that have good capability for agriculture. If you look at the soils maps of Middlesex County, the lands would be classified as Class 2, but they do have some limitations. One is D, which is either undesirable soils or low permeability, and the second, with the T, is for topographic limitations. Nonetheless, I believe that to accept that it is prime agricultural ignores the fact that it is open space, and it's not going to be returned to agriculture. It's been significantly developed for the campground use, and so it's essentially of no practical significance to deal with it as though under the prime agricultural areas umbrella. And I'll go on to say that I think that's supported by the Middlesex County official plan and by the Southwest Middlesex official plan. The County of Middlesex official plan contains a policy in section 4.3. The section is entitled Local Official Plans, and in the third paragraph it says, "It is not the intention of this plan to prevent the development of those existing non-agricultural designations within local official plans that dot the landscape outside of settlement areas as of the date of the passing of this plan. Such lands are not removed from the prime agricultural area." So it seems to me that that policy is really intended to address this kind of situation, where at some point there has been a designation of land within a prime agricultural area for a purpose other than agriculture. And it says that there's no intention to prevent the development. And development in planning documents is inclusive of lot creation. And that's what's being proposed by Silver Dove, is the creation of a lot. It's wouldn't be taking place on lands that are designated as agriculture. It would be taking place on a property that is designated as open space. The planning justification report also referenced section 4.4, which is valid because it refers to there being no intention to prevent the continuation of these types of uses. And your council will be aware, and certainly Mayor Mayhew will be aware, that in January, the county approved an official plan amendment. Well, there was one in 2023, then there was one last month to bring the county plan into conformity with the PPS. And there was no change to that policy. So I have to assume that's the intent of, remains the intent of the county. Going on to the Southwest Middlesex official plan, I noted two things that I think are worthy of consideration. One is that there is a policy in 8.1.1, unexpected situations. And that's where a situation arises not specifically addressed by the policies of the plan. The general intent and purpose of the plan shall be determining factors in establishing conformity with the plan. Well, clearly the designation of this property as open space is what the intent and purpose of the plan is with regard to this property. And of course, your official plan was updated in 2024, I think, and there was no change to that policy. So I'm not disagreeing with the policies that are pointed out by your planner in the report, but I do believe there are policies that should also be taken into account, which tend to recognize the unique situation of this property, and that there's no intent to take any land, agricultural land out of production for another purpose other than agriculture. It's simply to keep the designation intact and to have a lot created. The other thing I wanted to mention with regard to your official plan is clearly in the past, at some point, there have been unexpected situations arise, and that resulted in the residential special policy area number 1 to permit an electrical contracting business, I believe, in Glencoe. And then there's the commercial special policy area number 1 in Wardsville to permit 4 townhouse units in a commercial area designation. So clearly, at some points, this municipality has taken into account unique situations that arise and which you wish to support by applying appropriate official plan policy. There is those precedents certainly, I think, should weigh into council's decision, as well as the 2016 prior consent. And I'm fairly certain, I took a look at the planning justification report back in 2016 that was provided by the applicants. And I know the unexpected situations policy was brought to council's attention at that time. It's the same policy that was not changed subsequently within the municipality. And I think that taking into account those other policies that I pointed out would lead to an opinion, which is the opinion that I espouse, is that actually the subject applications would be consistent with the provincial policy statement, that they do conform with the County of Middlesex official plan, and they do conform the municipality of Southwest Middlesex official plan. And again, those 2 documents are the responses of the county and Southwest Middlesex to provincial policy. And that's what also augurs in favor in terms of having regard for Section 2 of the Planning Act. And so, Your Worship, those are my remarks. If there's any questions, I'm here and happy to respond,
Okay.
as well as my clients.
Thank you, Barbara. There is a process, of course, as you know, that we go through the 7 steps, and stay tuned. There may be. The applicant is now available to speak if they so wish. Okay. All right. Okay. No. All right. Alana, has there been any oral submissions from the public or any written submissions from the public?
Through you, Mayor, I have not received any public comments. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. There's none. And final comments from the agent or applicant is available at this time, and we'll follow that with questions.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, Council. Again, I'm hoping that Council will consider that there are other policies that could respectfully mitigate in favor of these applications. And I note that there is no bylaws on your agenda that would be permissive of the applications and no consent conditions. But I would hope that those would be fairly readily available or prepared should Council pass motions in that respect.
Okay. Sounds good. Council, any questions you'd like to ask the planner? Yes. Councilor McGill, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I drove out by there Saturday, and just like the agent says, it really isn't being used as farmland. It's all planted with trees. There's a kind of a gully or a water course, if you want to call it that, that cuts that corner of the farm off, and I guess that's probably why all those trees were planted maybe 50 years ago. You can tell they were planted. And I'm really much in favor of preserving farmland. I supported that resolution from Prince Edward County that we support preserving farmland, and yet in this case, that land isn't being used for farming. I don't think it ever will, because it's a corner cut off of a farm that's actually not even designated agricultural. It's designated open space. So I think we should receive this report and grant the two requests. And then the third request, which is for the actual severance, we deal with that in the Committee of Adjustment, do we not? So I guess I really didn't have a question, but more of a statement.
Your thoughts, I think, are shared by others at the table as well. Councilor McGill, thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Okay, Councilor McGill, I just want to do this in priority. You want to make that a motion?
Well, yeah, I'll make an emotion that we receive the report and we grant those two
Okay.
requests that are highlighted there.
Okay.
Can I just make a comment there, please? The thing we might want to do right now is, so that we can get everything done up properly, is to defer this back to the planner to come back with another report, so that if you are wanting to support this, it can come back with a proper bylaw, and for the consent, if you choose to support that as well, could come back with proper
Okay,
conditions.
yep, and I understand that, Colleen, very well. Mark, I'm sure you will as well, that we're not putting it off. We're just trying to do it right. And we'll do the bylaw at the same time as the consent. If that.
So what are you suggesting then for a motion? If we want to basically grant this?
Okay, so we have one that's prepared here. I can read it out to you. Sorry, I gotta put my glasses on. Council of the Municipality of Southwest Middlesex received the report dated February 18th, 2026, prepared by the planner, titled Official Plan Amendment Application 06-2025, Zoning Bylaw Application P15-2025, Consent Application B11-2025, submitted by, sorry, it says Trevor Benjamins, but we'll change that, on behalf of Silver Dove Estates, 4838 Switzer Drive, for information, and that the application for official plan amendment 06-2025, which proposes to redesignate a portion of the subject property from open space to open space special policy area 1 in order to permit a residential use on the lot, proposed to be severed through consent application B11-2025, legally described as part of Lot 15, Range 1, SLR, Municipality of Southwest Middlesex, Eckford, be deferred back to staff to prepare for an official plan amendment for council's consideration at a future meeting, and that the application for zoning bylaw amendment P15-2025, which proposes to rezone the proposed severed lot requested through the consent application B11 from specific site open space zone to the rural residential RR zone in order to permit the residential use of lands for lands legally described as part of Lot 15, Range 1, SLR, Municipality of Southwest Middlesex, be deferred back to staff to prepare the zoning bylaw amendment for council's consideration at a future meeting. So that would be the official resolution at this
Are
point.
you okay with that, Mark?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. You'll move that then?
I will move that.
Okay, I will second that. Okay, have it recorded. We will open it up for discussion. Any questions? Yes.
The only thing I noticed in that very long report is, looks like the well isn't particularly strong. I don't know whether the agent has anything to say about that. I'm not sure what the requirements are. I know to get a building permit, out in the country, you're supposed to, I think you have to prove that you have water. Isn't that correct?
Don't have the full file with me. I thought there was a well water test submitted with the application, but in any event, one of the conditions of consent, I'm certain would be that there be a proper and potable water supply for the lot, the new lot.
Okay, that's a good question, Mark. Just to perhaps add to it, Silver Dove Estates is an important entity to Southwest Middlesex. We hear from our constituents all the time about the cost of housing, affordable housing, and it is a recreational facility. The lifestyle out there is sincerely enjoyed by the residents out there. And some of the new units that are being sold out there for a 11-month accommodation are meet all the building requirements of this climatic zone. There's 6-inch walls, they're heavily insulated. I don't want to refer to it as affordable housing, but one can, for approximately $300,000, live in a very comfortable abode. So it is important to us, and it has a long history in Eckford and Southwest Middlesex. And succession planning is extremely important. People are not lined up to take over businesses today. And I think it's very important that there be some accommodation to family that want to take over a business. And I think to administrate a business efficiently, you have to reside on location. And especially with something like this, I think it's extremely important. I'll just add that. There is a motion on the table. If there's any clarity that has to be received, certainly put up your hand. Yes, Councilor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I'd just like to point out that there is a well report in here from the Cloud water wells, and all the information is right here.
Good, thanks for bringing that out, Martin. Yep, you catch the details, Martin. I know you do. Yeah. Okay, the chair, I don't see any discomfort from council understanding what they're voting on. So I'll call the motion. All in favor of the motion as presented. Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We may see you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, the chair will now declare the public meeting for the OPA 06-2025 and ZBA P15 2025 closed, and we will now resume the regular meeting of council. So we are at, and correct me if I'm wrong, Amanda, number 6. Okay, thank you. Committee of Adjustment, Chair requires a motion that the Council of Middlesex, Municipality of Southwest Middlesex, enter into a Committee of Adjustment at 6:48. Is there a mover for that, please? Councilor Emery, Councilor McGill, all in favor? Carried. We will, okay. We are now there, and council approved the minutes of the February 4th meeting, the regular council meeting I'm sorry. Committee of Adjustment. We're in Committee of Adjustment. I'll just move this over. So we'll call it to order. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on. The minutes of the January 14th meeting have been circulated. Is there a mover and a seconder to accept those minutes as circulated? Councilor Vink, thank you. Councilor Myers, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Committee of Adjustment, consent application B11 2025 submitted by Silver Dove Estates. Switzer Drive is now open. The meeting order, the planner will present the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. So the purpose and effect of application for consent B11-2025 is to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a rural residential lot. And the property as a whole contains the Silver Dove Estates campground, although the lands to be severed are vacant of buildings or structures. As noted in my presentation earlier, this application proposes to create a residential lot in a prime agricultural area, which is not permitted by the provincial planning statement, County of Middlesex official plan, or the Southwest Middlesex official plan. Residential lot creation in a prime agricultural area would not have regard for matters of provincial interest. Without repeating all of my previous presentation, staff is of the opinion that the application is not consistent with the provincial planning statement or in conformity with the County of Middlesex official plan or the Southwest Middlesex official plan, and also does not have regard to Section 2 of the Planning Act. Therefore, staff recommend application for consent B11-2025 be refused for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Is there, would the agent of the applicant wish to speak to this at present? Are they still present? They left? Okay. I guess council in planning, it is interpretation sometimes, and there's obviously a difference of interpretation here. Is the proprietor of Silver Dove Estates present? They've all left. Is that correct? Okay, that's fine. We can move on then. So the agent has left the meeting. The applicant has left the meeting. Any oral submissions or from the public or any written submissions from the public? There are none. I have to ask that question. Final comments from the agent or its applicant. There are none. We are at council decision regarding the consent of the committee of the committee of adjustment. Colleen needs some help here. What is the best direction to take in this? I think you fully realize the sentiments of council and that
Yes.
unanimous vote. So what would you suggest?
Yes, so for consistency with, you've already had the OPA and the zoning bylaws. So for this one, if you are leaning in that direction of supporting this, then you'd be deferring it back to the planner to come back with report at a future meeting.
Okay, so the motion is to defer to a future meeting?
Yes, so it would be receiving for information,
Okay.
and that the application for consent B11-2025 submitted under section 53 of the Planning Act, which proposes to sever a portion of the land from the property legally described as part of Lot 15, Range 1, SLR, Municipality of Southwest Middlesex, Eckford, be deferred back to the staff to prepare conditions for consent for council's consideration at a future meeting.
Thank you very much for that, Colleen. We appreciate it. Is there a mover? Councillor McGill, a seconder for that. Councillor Emery, thank you very much. Questions? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, committee of adjustment. Okay, so 4.2. There's also a variance application here submitted by 1,563,449 Ontario Limited in care of Brittany Houston on 2339 Elizabeth Street. Aaron, I believe, is taking this one. And Aaron, if you could walk us through this, council would be most appreciative.
Thank you very much, Chair. So I do apologize. I have a cold, so I sound very nasally, but I will do my best to read through my report for you all. So this application is for a minor variance for the conversion of an existing basement into a self-contained second dwelling unit. It would have a floor area of approximately 41.8 square meters or 450 square feet. The property itself is approximately 380 square meters in size. It contains a single detached dwelling. The main floor of the house is approximately 45.5 square meters or 500 square feet. There is also a detached single car garage that is measuring approximately 35 square meters. The lands are serviced by municipal water and sanitary connections and have an existing driveway onto Elizabeth Street. So the purpose of this application is to address a second dwelling unit with a gross floor area equal to 90% of the primary dwelling unit, whereas the zoning bylaw limits it to a maximum of 40% of the primary unit itself, to a maximum of 75 square meters or approximately 800 square feet. The applicant is proposing to convert the existing basement of the dwelling with separate access to the exterior of the dwelling. If the applicant were to meet the 40% floor area provision in the zoning bylaw, the second unit would be approximately 18.6 square meters or about 200 square feet in size, or just under half of the existing basement area. The applicant has indicated that the size is not sufficient for a complete unit, and as such, they're proposing to convert the entirety of the basement. I do want to just mention too that there are parking requirements for second units, which must equate to 1 unit per for the second unit dwelling. And we also have the required parking for the primary unit, which is 2 parking spaces. So on the location map that everyone should be viewing now, you can see that the applicant has identified that there's 2 parking spaces on the driveway and there's 1 parking space within the garage to make up the 3 parking spaces required. So I analyzed the application based on the 4 tests of minor variance. Again, the proposed second unit will have a gross floor area of about 450 square feet, which is well below the maximum permitted floor area of 800 square feet. It remains small in scale. The variance is not resulting in any changes to the building footprint, lot coverage, setbacks, or height. The second unit is entirely contained within the existing basement, and all other applicable zoning provisions are fully met in this case. The minor variance would allow the second unit to function as a complete and livable dwelling, whereas strict compliance with the 40% would result in a unit size that is not practical for a residential use. I also want to note that our official plan, county official plan, and PPS all support residential intensification, which contributes to housing diversity without diminishing the character of the neighborhood. I circulated the application as per the requirements of the Planning Act. I received a single comment from the chief building official who did identify that a building permit is required to authorize the second dwelling unit. I have included that as a recommended condition of the variance. I know the applicant is fully, they've been talking with the building department. This is fully something that they will be following through on, just to ensure that the variance is maintained. We do need to have that as a recommended condition. So my recommendation again this evening is approval, subject to the 1 condition I previously mentioned. Thank you.
Aaron, thank you very much. In the process, the applicant will be allowed to speak, or their agent. Anyone want to take us up on that?
Thank you. No, I have no further comments to Aaron's report.
Okay.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks very much. Any oral submissions from the public and written submissions from the public other than the building inspector? That's the only one. Is that correct, Aaron?
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We can go on. Final comments from the applicant. Do you wish to pass on that, or would you like to add to it?
No further comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It has to be asked. Thank you very much. Council, your decision, the recommendation is before you that it be granted. Is there a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Deputy Mayor Schuldeis? Seconder for that, please. Councilor Haggett, discussion? Yes, Mark, go ahead, please.
I just wondered if somebody from staff could tell me how small can you go with an apartment? Because I think this is going to be 500 square feet upstairs and 400 square feet downstairs, 2 units. So that must be getting, there must be a limit for how small you can go.
Yep. Anyone have knowledge of that? We may have to get back to you on that possibly, or can Aaron give us some guidance on that?
That is a great question. Is my understanding that we don't have a maximum or a minimum in the zoning bylaw. But again, I know the applicant has been speaking with the building department, and they have not identified that this doesn't meet an Ontario building code or any requirement that way.
It would have to have the amenities of kitchen, washroom, water, sanitary. So it would have to have those amenities. Okay. Council, any further questions on that? We have a motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. I'll call the question. All in favor of the recommendation? It's carried. We have 4.3. Minimum variance application, A2, 2026, submitted by 2730-646 Ontario Limited in care of Jonathan Barnett, Mackenzie Lake Lawyers, LLP, 280 King Street. Aaron, can you test the waters on this one for council, please?
Absolutely. Thank you again, Chair. So the purpose of this next application is to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling with an exterior side yard setback of 6 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum of 7.5 meters in the R1 zone. The subject property itself is approximately 922 square meters in area. It's currently vacant. The applicant is proposing to construct a single detached dwelling to be serviced by full municipal water and sanitary services. The lot is located at the northwest corner of John Street and King Street within Glencoe. There's approximately 20.12 meters of frontage or 66 feet of frontage along King Street and approximately 45.8 or 150 meters along John Street. As this is a corner lot, the shorter frontage is deemed to be the front lot line. And the longer frontage is the exterior lot line. So accordingly, King Street is considered front lot line and John Street is the exterior lot line. Due to the orientation and design of the proposed dwelling, the applicant is requesting a reduction of the required setback along John Street from 7.5 meters to 6 meters. The property itself is designated residential within our official plan, and it is zoned residential first density R1 in the zoning bylaw. I have analyzed the application based on the 4 tests of minor variance. I am of the opinion that the decrease rather represents a modest reduction that will not create adverse impacts on adjacent properties or the surrounding streetscape. A 6 meter setback will continue to provide sufficient space for an adequate driveway and parking spaces and appropriate separation from the traveled portion of John Street. The reduced setback will not interfere with sight lines along John Street, nor will it raise concerns related to pedestrian or vehicular safety. I circulated the application as per the requirements of the Planning Act and did not receive any comments from any of our departments, agencies, or the public. So my recommendation this evening for application A2-2026 is approval. Thank you.
Thank you again, Aaron. The applicant will be allowed to speak at this time. We have Agent John Barnett virtually. Is that correct? Oh, good, John, in the flesh, eh? That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, John Barnett here for the applicant. I just drove over to the subdivision and took a tour there. And when you think about it, like more than a third of the lot can't be built on because it's an exterior side yard, it's going to look odd. And there is one 2-story house that was kind of built with that setback. And so building a bungalow really reduces the amount that you can build on the lot. So it really does make a lot of sense to reduce the setback. And 6 meters is more consistent with some other municipalities as well. And it wasn't until we went to go, I think I built one of the first houses out there that we noticed, we paid attention to this exterior side yard in the R1 zoning that kind of creates this really squish kind of look on the lot. So this is just more aesthetically pleasing for the subdivision as a whole, development as a whole, and allows the people that want to build in this lot to get the house that they want and the location they want.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. We have a process again to go through. The applicant will be allowed to speak. They're not here. Is that correct? Okay, that's fine. Any oral submissions from the public or any written submissions from the public? Aaron?
No, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Final comments from agent or applicant?
Nothing more, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, your decision. The recommendation is that the minor variance be granted. Is there a mover and a seconder? Councillor Haggett, Councillor Myers. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Council, we are looking to adjourn this committee meeting, committee of adjustment meeting, and we can adjourn it at 7:06. Is there a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Councillor Emery, Councillor McGill, all in favor? Carried. We are done with the committee of adjustment, and now we can move back to the regular agenda of council. We are now into public meetings, and we'll move into council, the public meeting, the Council of Municipality of Southwest Middlesex adjourn at, we got that at 7:05 p.m. for the purposes of holding a public meeting pursuant to the following acts. And we have three here. Development Charges Act, 1997. We can proceed with that first, if you wish. Hi, how are you doing? How are you? Good. Just a gentle reminder that delegations are 10 minutes, okay? If you can do that, we can accommodate you a few seconds over that or a minute, but we have tons of stuff to unpack here tonight.
Absolutely. I've been briefed.
Okay, that's good. Your reputation precedes you, I see.
Um, All right. Well, thank you, everyone, your worship, members of council, staff, and members of the public. Happy to be here. As mentioned, this is a statutory public meeting under the Development Charges Act. It is required in order to go through the implementation process prior to council considering the bylaw. Now, I do want to preface that there are no decisions being made tonight. This is simply, again, a public meeting so that you can receive comments, input, and for you to ask any questions as well. So going through the agenda, I mean, a brief overview. There's the overview of the process, the charges, the proposed policies, and then as well we have a little bit of the actual calculations that we've included as part of this, and then your municipal comparators. Now, you know, I just like to preface that most of these slides have been already presented to council. So really a lot of this is more for the public to be able to then hear if they weren't part of the prior sessions. And as I mentioned, that's where, you know, we'll be able to go through this fairly quickly. Overview of the process. Again, we started back in you know, July of this 2025, actually. And since that time, we've had numerous engagements with council, staff, and that's where it culminated to the background study that you see today that was published back in December. As I mentioned, we are in the mandatory public meeting today. And we are still determining when the council consideration of the bylaw will be. However, as of right now, it is estimated for Q2 of 2026. Next slide. So in terms of development charges, as I mentioned, you know, as you're familiar with it by now, it is to recover the capital costs related to growth for residential and non-residential developments. It is to capture the broader growth-related capital costs that would be really the municipality's responsibility. Any works that are still contained within local subdivisions or intensification are a responsibility of the direct developer. So really the development charges are meant to just recover for any of the, you know, larger or broader services that may be external to the subdivision to the extent possible. Next slide. So as mentioned, how we determine the development charges, we start off with your planning numbers, growth, whether it's through your official plan, information that came from the county via different growth forecasts. And then we apply that to the different capital works in order to service that growth. So we do work with staff, look at with your consultants as well, to look at any master plans, capital budgets, and really any items that would support that growth. And at the end of the day, that's what that's how we undertake the development charges. Next slide. So as mentioned historically, there's no magic to development charges. If you do have new growth and require servicing in the form of new infrastructure, if you don't have DCs, which you historically have not, then really the costs or the revenue source to be able to pay for those new roads, water mains, et cetera, would come from rates, taxes, reserves, et cetera. Development charges offers again, an alternative tool to then recover it from those new units that are coming to the municipality, which really is the impetus for the trigger for these new infrastructure works, right? You wouldn't have to build these new roads if it wasn't for the growth that was coming to the municipality. Next slide. The methodology, I mentioned this numerous times, but again, for the benefit of the public, we first off identify the amount, type, location of growth. We then figure out the capital to be able to service those needs. And again, the capital can shift depending on staff and council's priority, as long as it's meeting the need for the public. And then once we have those costs, we do have a number of deductions. What portion of it will benefit the community, any grants, subsidies, or other contributions you may receive as well. And then we divide it by the growth to get your DCs. Next slide. So in very short form, we take the cost of infrastructure divided by the growth, and that's how we determine the cost per residential unit, and as well as the cost per square foot, say for non-residential growth. Now, in terms of your current the proposed DCs, we are looking at, 5 different services. So we have water, wastewater, services related to a highway, which is, really your roads, bridges, as well as public works, facilities, fleet and equipment. We also have fire protection services and parks and recreation, and any associated studies that may contribute to the benefit of these services. Next slide. So in terms of the recent legislation, again, I mentioned this when I was here last, I believe in November or December, but essentially there have been some changes from the province as early as back in November 27. And we have incorporated those as part of the background study. So we amended basically your calculations in order to conform to the act. And the main thing that has been triggered, and something that we are monitoring with your finance staff, is that if you are to proceed with a development charge bylaw, any collections would actually take place now at the time of occupancy in terms of residential developments. So historically, you would, before you issue a building permit, you would collect DCs. Now you determine the DCs perhaps at building permit, but you're not getting the money until there's an occupancy permit, which could take a year or 2 years or any other time horizon. Next slide, please. There are a number of mandatory exemptions. So I think I've mentioned this before. DCs are not a full cost recovery tool. There are a number of items that you can't recover for, and you can see here just off the list. If the county were to ever build a facility, you don't charge them a DC. Likewise, you wouldn't pay anything if they had one. Industrial buildings can expand up to 50% of their base building without having to pay DCs. It is a one-time exemption, but it is something that you can't charge for. And then just going down the list, there's also rental units. You have to provide a discount, assuming that it is 100% of the building is purpose-built for rentals. And the discounts range from 15 to 25%, depending on the number of bedrooms. The more bedrooms, the higher the discount. We have intensification clauses, so a unit can add, up to 2 apartments and not pay a DC on those additions. And then you can see here, we also have affordable housing, non-for-profit, et cetera. Next slide. Now, in terms of discretionary discounts and exemptions, again, you as a municipality or any municipality for that matter can set any discounts or exemptions you would like above and beyond what's mandated by the province. Typically, municipalities will look at different classes or types of development, whether that's industrial or maybe even places of worship, and you could go anywhere from 0 to 100% exemptions. You may phase in the charge over time, and then you also have to provide redevelopment credits. So this is actually case law from the province. So knock on wood, if my house burnt down, I should be allowed to rebuild it without having to pay a DC, or moving from one type to the other, right? To recognize that there was capacity already provided by an existing home. And then with respect to the municipality's proposed exemptions and discounts, as stated within the background study, as of right now, we do have a partial reduction for industrial, about 50% on the industrial developments, and then bona fide farms as well would be exempt from DCs. Now, I would like to preface that this is what was presented as part of the background study. You as a council and staff have the ability to amend these exemptions and discounts all the way up to the consideration of the bylaw. So as I said, you have a lot of flexibility before the bylaw is passed. Next slide. In terms of affordable housing, I did mention that if your unit is deemed to be affordable under the definition of the province for development charges, which is basically being less than 30% of the 60th percentile of income. And they do have a bulletin that they publish every year. So you can see on the right-hand side, if you are an affordable owned unit, especially for Southwest Middlesex, that would mean the sale price has to be less than $348,400. And that is a bulletin that the province of Ontario does publish. And then lastly, with the affordable rent, it does have to be less than, let's say, a studio or bachelor apartment at 1,032, and then going up to 1,480 for a 2 and 3 plus bedroom apartment. So anything less than that is deemed affordable. You can't charge DCs. Now, one thing I would like to add is if it is deemed affordable, you as a municipality must enter into a 25-year agreement with these entities to ensure that it stays affordable. Because during that time, if it changes hands or it no longer meets the affordability criteria, you then have the ability to charge DCs again during that time. Next slide. As part of the background study and part of our appendix, we do provide what's called a local service policy. And again, I mentioned this before, but this really just outlines basically the guidelines that the municipality will follow as to what would be considered a DC eligible item versus what you would require the developer or landowners to construct on your behalf. Again, more of those localized works. Next slide. So now we get into the specifics of the report, and the calculations of the study. And you can see with the growth forecast, we did have 3 different intervals. One being more of a 10-year forecast, which is really for more of your parks and recreation types of services, again, more of the softer services. And you can see that the population increase is roughly just over 500 people or 270 homes. And that translates to roughly 129 employees or 131,000 square feet of gross floor area. And then moving on to the right-hand side, we also have a longer term forecast, or what we're calling a 20-year forecast. And we actually have 2 different numbers. The first one is the municipal-wide 20-year. So essentially, this is the growth within the whole municipality, which is roughly about 634 homes or 288 employees. The very right-hand side is the municipal serviced category. So as part of the background study, we also isolated the areas of the municipality that would be serviced with water and wastewater. So that way, any works that are water and wastewater related and the capacity that's generated by these works are only applied to those that would be consuming or utilizing the water and wastewater system. So that's why we had a separate calculation for those municipally serviced areas. Next slide. So with that being said, as part of the background study and the calculations, that brings us to the proposed development charges that are presented on the screen. If you are building in an area that is not receiving water or wastewater services, a single family home is about $5,917, for a development charge. Now, if you are building within an area, say such as Glencoe, that does have access to water and wastewater and will be connecting to the municipal system, then that's an additional $16,080. $11,500 and change would be more for water, $4,500 for wastewater, for a grand total of $21,997. Now, keep in mind, this is to be able to connect to the municipal water system, to be able to utilize the water and wastewater capacity of the municipality. Historically, what we've found from rural municipalities is if you had to build your own well and dig, you're already paying probably upwards of the $60,000 to $80,000, depending on how deep you have to dig and connect. So looking at this from a connection standpoint, this is where we would like to kind of make that distinction as to what's presented in the DC versus what you would typically do in a rural setting. And then going left to right, you could see depending on the size of the unit, as it gets smaller in terms of a number of people that would be housed within it, the corresponding charge decreases as well, right? For a townhouse or a multiple going to 20,430, and then down to about 12,287 for a one-bedroom apartment or studio. And then on the non-residential side, again, if you're building in a non-serviced area, non-municipally serviced area, it's $2.38 per square foot, and 767 plus 767 if you're municipally serviced, for a total of $10.05. Next slide. So in terms of your comparators between other municipalities, we tried to separate it between obviously what is within the county, and then looking at it as well in terms of what is truly that municipal serviced water and wastewater, which is depicted in the green, versus what's the municipal wide, your roads, fire, parks and recreation, which is in the blue. And with these comparators, you can see Thames Center on the very left-hand side, followed by Middlesex Center. We have Stratford, Caradoc, North Middlesex, and then yourself, Southwest Middlesex in the middle, and then all the other municipalities on the right-hand side. And you can see some of the ones on the right-hand side don't have that local municipal water and wastewater DC. But if you compare the blues, that's where it is comparable between those other municipalities. Next slide. In terms of the commercial, again, similar comparators. Again, with Middlesex Center and Stratford and Thames Center being on the left-hand side on the higher DCs per square foot, whereas you're just a bit left of the middle. And then lastly, on the industrial, and as I said, this is based on the reports identification of a 50% reduction. So that's where right now you could see you're on really the middle right-hand side. However, again, this may be subject to change depending on council and staff's outcome of what you'd like, how you like to treat industrial. And finally, as I mentioned, we're looking to receive input from staff, council, and the public, and we are estimating to have this bylaw brought back to council in Q2. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Byron. That was a good Coles Notes version of that. I compliment you for that. Just hold tight there. There may be some questions from council, and we'll take this opportunity now, ladies and gentlemen. Any questions to Byron? Yes, go ahead, Councilor McGill.
Would it be very common for a municipality to exempt a case where somebody was tearing down an old house and building a new house? That happens quite a bit out in the country, especially because, to my way of thinking, there's no growth there. There was a house there already, and then somebody tears it down and builds a new house. Yes. So maybe they should be exempted.
Great question, Councillor. So through the mayor, in that particular case, that's where I had mentioned that there are redevelopment credits. So this is where if your house, again, you've got a demolition permit or, it burnt down, you should be allowed to reconstruct over a period of time without having to pay a DC. And this is where, through your bylaw, you can determine that time horizon. But typically it's an average of about 5 years where you don't pay a DC.
Yeah, sounds good. I like that. Yep. Deputy Mayor Schuldeis.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'm just looking at summary of growth forecast, and for over the last 10 or going forward 10 years, you have predicted 270 units, and then for 20 years going forward, you have 634 units. That seems awfully high to me, and I just wondered if we could get some historical data on how many units we've actually increased by in the last 10 years and the last 20 years that required municipal services. You don't need to answer that now, but if we could in the future have a look at that.
Absolutely, will do, Councillor.
Okay, you're fine with that? All right. Yeah, that being said, yeah, there certainly is. We found an appetite for people wanting to get out to smaller areas. We find that since we're on high-speed internet now, we have a fairly relaxed atmosphere in the community, and I try to get engaged with most newcomers, and they certainly find Southwest Middlesex appealing, and we're pleased with that. My question is, are we competitive? And I think you alluded to the fact that at this current state, we are with the recommendation. Is that correct?
Based on my read of the comparator municipalities, I believe so.
We're competitive, okay? Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Yes, two more here. I saw Councillor Vink first. I think Martin will let you go. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. To Byron, I have an article that came from the Ontario Farmer. And it says for each dollar in municipal revenue that comes from agriculture, 37 cents is spent on servicing. For each dollar that comes from urban development, it costs the municipality $1.18. So any development in agriculture, 63 cents extra goes to other municipal needs. So they are already servicing other developments or other costs. Whereas all the urban municipal development is actually costing all the taxpayers. So I feel that agriculture certainly should be exempt from any development, and possibly urban as well, because, and my other question was going to be, you have water services 11,500. Would the hookup cost be on top of that?
We'll get try to get an answer to your question. Byron, I'm going to let you go first, and Denise, if you can add clarity to this, we'll certainly take you up on that. Okay. Yep. Go ahead, Byron.
Yeah. So just to the councillor's point, again, I'm not familiar with that article, but in terms of the exemptions and your comments, as I mentioned in the presentation, it is proposed that the bona fide farms are exempt from DCs. Now, and then with that being said, as far as the calculations go from the DC standpoint, I did mention that if you're not connecting to municipal water or wastewater, you're not paying that municipal service charge. So a single family home would not be that $21,900. It would be $5,900. So a quarter. So not quite 30%, but 25% of the just over 25% of the total DCs payable. And then with respect to the connection fee.
Through your Mayor Mayhew, yes, our applicable fees and charges would still apply for hookups if it was in the fees and charges, and that is set by council every year.
Okay, that's yeah, Martin. I'll allow you one follow-up, and if you don't get full clarification on that, you can consult with staff later. But go ahead, ask your question.
Thank you, Mayor. What is considered a bona fide farm?
It would be as you define it within your proposed bylaw. But typically, I'd have to take a look at exactly the wording. But I'm assuming based on what was initially drafted, it would be considered a farm under your tax realty class. And then there was a number of conventions as well. Could be, growing, essentially not on farm diversified uses. So if someone were to develop, let's say, like a mechanic shop, within a piece of farmland, that's not farming. That's a mechanic bay. That's industrial for the most part. So again, this is where you do have to. It's always based on the definition that you determine as part of your bylaw.
Thank you, Byron. Denise, can you add clarity to that as well?
Just add a little bit more information, Mayor Mayhew and Councillor Bank. So through the Assessment Act, all farm properties have a minimum residential assessment to them if there is a single family dwelling on it. So it would apply to the agricultural land as it pertains to accessory buildings and then housing for farm workers. So the residential portion would be accessible through the DCs because that is the residential portion for the home, and accessory buildings would be exempt under the DCs as council has chosen to exempt those.
Okay, we need to pursue that further. Councillor Vink, we can do that in an environment other than this, but those are good questions, Martin. We appreciate it. And good answers, Byron, Denise, thank you very much. We are sensitive to the fact that the market is soft, and we know that there is flexibility in this, Byron, as to how we use it. The reason I say that, there have been submissions from the public, 3 individuals, Ms. Lane, Mr. Zavis, Mr. DeMello, and we are conscious of your concerns. And we ask if Natalie from Timmerman's Development, are you with us virtually?
She was, and so was Steve Timmermans, but both of them are off now.
Oh, they're off now, okay. Yeah, well, if Natalie, if you can hear us, certainly come back and visit us. Tim Zavitz is in person. Yes, Tim. I don't think, yeah, you come up to the microphone just for the sake of being a public meeting, Tim. We want to make sure that your concerns are expressed and recorded, and I know you need it. It's not necessary, Tim, but for policy, if you could state your name for the record, it'd be appreciated.
Hi, I'm Tim Zavitz, Mayor and members of council. For those of you who don't know me, I wrote out a whole thing, and I don't know that I'm going to read it all. I think I'm not against development charges. I don't think that's a bad. I don't think they're a bad thing. I think the problem here is we have a report that's showing we're going to increase our size by a substantial amount. We haven't increased by 1,200 people in the last 20 years. I don't know if we've increased by 100 people in the last 20 years. Our net new houses, net new, I don't know what that number is, but I think we've had 17 houses built a year for the last 10. But how many of those are net new? How many of them are in a new subdivision? How many of them didn't replace something that was already here? We start adding $21,000 per new house. We're going to lose those new houses. I have 2 lots right now I can't figure out how to build on. I can't figure out how, as a developer, to build a house that's profitable. If I have to add $21,000, I might as well sit on the lot longer. I have 2 lots in the industrial park that we're trying to figure out how to build on. I'm trying to figure out how to make the math work. If we add, it was maybe with the 50% discount, it was going to be $30,000 per building. So over the whole project, it was $150,000 extra cost. Right now the market won't bear it. I think we need the growth. I think we have a lot of great things going in the municipality. There's 2 subdivisions about to be building in, right, that I can see. They're going to have the same problem I'm having. You get down with a pen and paper, you're not going to be able to build them. And what's the cost of the loss of that house? Every house employs 3 full-time employees in the municipality, every house built. So if we don't have the houses built, we're losing employment. Every house generates more tax every year. So we don't have that house built for 5 years. We lost the $21,000 in tax base. I think what we should be doing as a municipality is deferring capital gain or deferring development charges until we see growth at the numbers that they're projecting. When we get to 31 units, new net 31 units a year, that's something to talk about. Maybe this all makes sense then. But when we're at 17 and when we're at subdivisions that are just, people have risked everything they have, that's not me in this case in the subdivisions, but I feel for those people. I don't know how they're going to make it work. They're already selling houses cheaper than anywhere else. We're not Mount Bridges, we're not Kamoka, we're not Kilworth. We don't grow the way they grow. We can't use county forecasts to forecast our growth like Kamoka can. I don't think we're going to add 1,200 people. I hope we add 1,200 people. It'd be the best thing for town ever. But I don't think by increasing the costs, it's going to do it. My recommendation is that it gets deferred until our growth meets their projections on a 3-year rolling average. Get 3 years in a row where we added 93 houses over 3 years. And then let's come back and talk about development fees, because then we have growth that sustains development fees. Then we can slow growth down because we're at our number that we're at. If we slow growth down now down to 0 or a few, what good did they do? We didn't collect any development fees. And then you've planned capital spending based on that growth, what's going to happen? The development fees are going to go up because the numbers aren't there and you've already planned the growth. That's where I'm coming from. It won't matter. It doesn't matter to me personally, financially. If the projects work, they'll work. If I can't make them work with the development fees, we just won't do them. You know, we're getting to the point where the industrial park's going to open, I think, this year with more services. You know, it's been there since 2000. So we're 26 years with the industrial park, I believe. And there hasn't been anything built except the fire hall on the industrial part. And now we're going to add the costs even more. You know, now we're adding development charges to those people. We already can't attract them with no development charges. That's all. That's all I've got. I've got my written submission.
No, Tim, you did well on that. No, you're calm, cool, collected. We like that as a council, and we will take your comments into consideration. We, as a municipality, you know, we have asked for this Watson report. We have paid for this report, and it is it's done well. We are competitive, but when and if and to what extent we implement those development charges has not been determined yet. Okay, but we can accept the Watson report in principle at some point, and from there, council can determine how they act upon it. Okay, but thanks very much. Your consideration is well taken. Mr. DeMello, would you like to speak to us? Or your agent? Okay, thanks. John, welcome back again. We'll turn on that mic.
Thanks. John Burnett here on behalf of Marco DeMello. He's doing the Stella Meadows subdivision, which is under construction right now. Also here on behalf of the 267 number company that developed Glen Meadows over John King Street over there, which we had that minor variance on earlier. And you know, both my clients in principle don't have any problem with development charges. You know, they've built it in the municipalities, but they have to pay them. They understand the need for them, and that it's, you know, have to strike that balance between, you know, making things affordable and also making sure the municipality can afford to provide the services so that they can move forward. At the same time, you know, what makes Glencoe more competitive in terms of attracting new residents and people that want to move here is affordability. You can't just say, are you competitive with development charges because of the total number, right? If it's 30,000 in Strathroy and it's 22,000 here, well, Strathroy's got a hospital in town, they've got a Walmart, they've got other services right there that aren't necessarily available in Glencoe, Southwest Middlesex. And so you can't just look at the numbers in a vacuum like that. And that's with all statistics, right? You can look at stats and make them say one thing or another all day. You know, that's how us as lawyers make a lot of money, by interpreting things one way or another, right? I've seen it with my clients in terms of selling lots in the last couple of years. It's been tough, right? Glen Meadows was, you know, that subdivision was first laid out in I believe it was the late 1800s, right? And so it's finally actually being developed, and it's being developed well. And when my client moved forward with that project, it was right towards the end of COVID that they actually paid. So they paid a premium price to put the development services in, and they're not going to get that same premium out of selling those lots. And so to add another, you know, we're talking just shy of $22,000 in development charges plus the $5,800 that the county tacked on. You're to almost $28,000 just in fees, and it is going to materially affect the price of the houses and materially affect these developments. And so it would be my recommendation, just along with what Mr. Zavitz said, that the council strongly consider deferring these development charges until such time as demand has caught up. Right, it's not there right now. I can tell you that based on the deals that are coming across my desk. Hopefully it comes in next year, but if putting development charges would be the same thing as if the Bank of Canada popped interest rates up 2%. It would be a very dramatic slap to demand, and I don't think it's the appropriate time for them to be levied in this municipality. So thanks very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, John, once again. And as I said, council will certainly take your comments into consideration. And Marco, thanks for your present and thank you for your investment in Southwest Middlesex. We really appreciate it. As a courtesy, I'll ask Ms. Lane if she's with us again. She's not.
No, and neither
Okay,
is
that's
Steve
fine.
Turner.
Thank you. Just as a courtesy, I had to ask. Yeah, anybody else present that would like to speak to this development? Yes, come on up there. Yep. How are you? Yeah, grab a chair, get comfortable. No, that's okay. And Denise will make sure you're wired
So,
there. Yeah, yeah.
hello, everybody. Thank
Yeah.
you for your time. I didn't know that they were going to talk about DCs here, but might as well add something. I was one of the 3 builders that built houses on Tanya Drive.
Yeah.
And one of the things that attracted me to this was no DC. Right?
Yeah.
And Marco was the developer there.
Yeah.
And then just for council taking consideration, what are municipalities doing right now? They're deferring development charges. So I just want you to think about that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. And we've got your name for the record, have we? Yep, everything's good?
No, we don't.
Oh,
could
you want to
we-
give your
could we
name for the
ask?
record, sir?
Sorry, Paul C. Slack.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk again. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right. Well, if we didn't get it, the spelling right, it's not our fault, okay? Okay. I think we're good. We go there. We have asked for written submissions. I believe they have voiced them. We have some. We've got them from Mr. Zavitz and Mr. Marco Mello. Okay, we have that. So council, the resolution that is here, the council of the municipality of Southwest Middlesex accept the presentation from Byron Tan, managing partner of Watson and Associates, for the purpose of holding a public meeting under the Development Charges Act, and that the Development Charges public meeting is now closed. And we will certainly, our conversation is not ended on this, but for the sake of this public meeting, a motion to close this segment of it is now forthcoming. Councillor Haggett? Another one? I need a seconder for that, please. Councillor Myers, discussion? Yep, go ahead.
Last quick question for Byron, if I could. I just see that members of the Tri-County Water Board, none of them have water and wastewater development charges, and I just wondered how common that is. It says that they do have development charges that exclude water and wastewater.
Through the mayor, I'll have to double check that, just because I have to familiarize myself with what fees and
Or
charges they
next
provide.
time you're in, if you could just maybe touch on it.
Absolutely.
I just noticed we're on
Yeah.
a water board and none of the other members have it.
I see.
Okay, we're just gonna kind of mark a few seconds on that question, Deputy Mayor. It is a good question. And I just want to check with Amanda. She's reviewed policy from Tri-County extensively and okay, but good question. No, it's good. It's good, Mike. Thanks for asking that. Okay. All right, we have a motion on any other questions? We have a motion on the floor to adjourn the public meeting on the development charges. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried. Council will now proceed to a separate public meeting under the Drainage Act 1990, and I declare this meeting open for the purpose of considering the drainage report, the James Lethbridge Drain 2026, and we have the engineer present. Thank you very much for being with us, and we look forward to your report. And council will have opportunities to ask questions for Mike shortly.
Good evening. The report for the James Lethbridge drain was prepared in accordance with Section 78 of the Drainage Act for repair and improvement to an existing municipal drain. The existing drain consists of an open channel in Lot 22, a main drain tile extending from the open channel westerly crossing Tate's Road, and then 3 branches heading southwest crossing Hyman Drive, as well as at the intersection, there's another pipe that crosses the intersection as well. There are catch basins, a number of catch basins at the road crossings to pick up surface water to try and get some water underground, as well as provide drainage for the roads. We held a meeting. The landowners indicated that the drain was in poor condition and portions of it were fairly old and that they requested it be replaced. The ground conditions are such there that the sand bottom is not that stable for using the traditional wheel machine, and therefore some of the installation costs are higher than what it would be if we did have clay ground. So in this particular case, it was requested to destroy the old drain, make sure it's gone. It's not in great working order. So part of that meant that using an excavator compared to plowing some of the smaller pipes in, the economic savings isn't that great. And then we did prepare alternatives. We looked at the cost versus plowing some of the smaller pipes and then having to go back and find connections. The other thing that happens is when you plow pipes in, you do not see what you cross, and therefore connecting existing drains, lateral drains, can be more challenging and more costly too. So for those reasons, we were requested to submit the report to replace the drain with concrete tile. The joints would be wrapped and there would have to be a crushed stone bedding placed under the pipes. And we will be replacing all of the road crossings. There are 5 road crossings, particularly here, as well as having catch basins in those spots. There are a few places where there are low pockets in the field or trapped areas where surface water can't find its way out. And we are recommending blind inlets, which are crushed stone pits buried underneath the surface to collect surface water and get it into the drain. It's about 1,900 meters of tile and about 300 meters of open channel. And I'd stop and open up for questions.
Okay, Mike, thank you. We'll continue on. Yep. Yeah, that it? You're good? Okay, thanks very much. Well, certainly there are questions from property owners on this. Ms. Rucker, I think I see you visually. Thank you very much for joining Southwest Middlesex Council. Would you wish to speak to this?
Yes, and my apologies, I'm dealing with a cold. I just wanted to make a few statements that we have done ongoing repairs to the drainage in that field for numerous years. In 2024, we were advised that any additional repairs would be useless. And that essentially that the main had to be replaced, and that's why I initiated the request to have the main replaced. The lack of having a working drainage system is greatly impacting 2 of our fields. So the field where the main drainage sits, and then as well as the field across the street from Tate's Road. And those fields have been historically very high yielding fields, so it's impacting us quite a bit. You can see standing water for a lot of the year. And then definitely the yield is impacted in those areas where there's standing water. There's also been a recent development whereby the drainage that's running on the east side of the Tate's Road, there seems to be a collapse going on along the road. So that's a municipal drainage. And so repairing the main drainage will very likely also benefit the maintenance of Tate's Road. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presence. It's always appreciated. And we have a footprint to follow here. Request from those present to add or remove their name from the drainage petition. I see no hands. Comments or questions from members of council? Any opportunity to ask Mr. DeVos any questions? Seeing none, we must make a decision that the recommendation as submitted. Would someone move the recommendation that has been presented and circulated to council to proceed as the drainage report indicated? Yes, Deputy Mayor Scholes has moved it. Councilor McCollum, thank you for seconding that. Last call for questions. Yes, go ahead, Martin.
Yes, to Mike. Thank you, Mayor. So there was a field site visit here, and there was no calls from any of the other owners.
We did hold an on-site meeting at the beginning of the project, and we also held an informal public meeting here to review the proposal before submitting the report finally. And there were some questions and some discussions of what might need to be done or not need to be done, but no serious objections. There is a property to the north or to the west that's not connected to the drain. It has some tributary area, but they have a private tile that goes from the main up to that property. And then also we had some discussions about a tributary area on the southwest corner of the intersection, and that has been ditched away from the drain, so it's no longer shown to be in the watershed.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, any further questions? Okay, mover and a seconder that the recommendation to proceed the engineering commence. Mover and a seconder for this.
I think you have
Oh, we got it.
Deputy Mayor
Okay, you
and
got it.
Councilor
Okay.
McCollum.
All right, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All righty, 72. Okay, we voted on that to accept the engineer's report in reference to the James Lethbridge drain and refer the associated bylaw to the bylaw section of the agenda for first and second reading. And the chair will declare the public meeting on the Lethbridge drain closed. We're not done yet, though. We have a zoning bylaw amendment, P13-2025, submitted by Dion Custom Carpentry in care of Yves Dion. 22-760 Pratt Siding Road. Aaron, will you take us through this, please?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm just going to share my location map here. Here we go. Sorry about that. So the next application before council this evening is for 22760 Pratt Siding Road in Pratt Siding. The purpose of this application is to rezone the subject lands from the Hamlet Commercial HC zone to the Hamlet Residential HR zone and the site-specific Hamlet Commercial HC-1 zone. Subject lands are located on the northwest corner of Pratt Siding Drive and Concession Road in the hamlet of Pratt Siding. The property was recently subject to a consent application, which was conditionally approved by the Committee of Adjustment on May 24th, 2025. The consent created an approximate 0.5 acre vacant residential lot from a larger property, which is currently used for commercial purposes in the form of a cabinetry business. Condition 4 of the approval requires that the severed lands to be rezoned for residential purposes. And as part of this application, the landowner is also requesting to rezone the retained lands, which are approximately 0.89 acres in size. And this is to allow for a single detached dwelling, in addition to all uses permitted in the Hamlet Commercial Zone for future residents if desired. That is not part of the current application or the current plan, but just to allow for flexibility on the site in the future. I do want to note that the private servicing plan, which was deposited as or provided as part of the consent application, it did take into consideration a new residential use on the commercial property, and it did demonstrate that the lots were of sufficient size to accommodate both septic systems for the proposed residences. I do want to note that again, the consent application was approved by committee in May of last year. The rezoning condition is required to fulfill the requirements of the severance. If the zoning is denied, the applicant will be unable to fill the conditions and the consent will effectively fail. The lands are to be developed on municipal water and private sanitary services. As part of my analysis, it's my opinion that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the PPS. It also conforms to both the county and Southwest Middlesex official plans. The rezoning of the severed lands from Hamlet commercial to Hamlet residential is appropriate and necessary to implement the approved consent and facilitate residential development in accordance with our official plan policies. The rezoning of the retained lands to a site-specific Hamlet commercial zone is also considered appropriate by planning staff. The site-specific exemption would permit a single detached dwelling in addition to the commercial uses currently allowed in the HC zone, which would provide flexibility for the long-term use of the property while maintaining the intent of the HC zone. This approach ensures that the retained lands remain viable for continued use while allowing for future development of a residence should the owner choose to in the future. So overall, staff are satisfied that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment represents good planning. It supports appropriate residential development within an established hamlet and implements the intent of the approved consent. A bylaw has been drafted for council's consideration this evening. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. I did not receive any comments or concerns from our agencies or departments. Since the writing of or posting of the report, I have had a discussion with the adjacent neighbor who provided concerns with the creation of the residential lot and specifically with the setback of a new dwelling from the mutual lot line, as well as the removal of the existing tree lines. So my recommendation this evening for application P13 2026 or 2025 rather is approval. Thank you.
Thank you again, Aaron. At this time, the applicant will be permitted to speak. Mr. Dion? Not present virtually or physically? Okay. Move them. Oral submission from the public. You have received a call or a note with regard to that, Aaron?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. How many did you receive?
Just one conversation with the neighbor to the east.
Okay. Final comments from applicant. I don't think that's possible, council. The recommendation is before you, council, and the planner has explained it and has referenced its approval through other governance organizations and structures, that it meets the criteria, that it be granted. Is there a mover for the recommendation? Okay, Councillor Myers, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Haggett. Any questions that we want to ask Aaron? Yes, Councillor Vink, please go ahead.
Yes, I received a call also from the person, from the neighbor to the east, or sorry, to the north. And I think my first question is, when the consent was given, we weren't given all the information. Prior to this, when the first severance was approved many years ago, one of the conditions was to keep that tree line in place. And that information wasn't given to us when we were dealing with the consent. And so I believe that we should be taking that into consideration when we're talking about this zoning. And so I'll leave the floor open to other people to make comments. At the very least, the neighbor is going to lose a lot of privacy. At the very least, we should have a new condition that they put up a 6-foot fence along the perimeter of the lot to at least give that to the owner to the north.
Yep. Okay, we can take that into consideration. I would have to reference Aaron and Amanda, whether that would be possible, whether we could add that to the recommendation or not. And it would certainly be pending the approval of council, whether we're in agreement to amend the recommendation like that. Okay, yeah, Aaron, please go ahead. Yeah.
So I absolutely appreciate, there was information that came forward after the condition was, or the consent was approved. Unfortunately, zoning bylaw amendments they don't have the ability to enact conditions. They're either approval, denial, or a deferral for additional information, but there's no ability to add a condition. And the conditions of the previous consent approval, they have been through the appeal period. They are established. So it might, through this process, this rezoning, there's no ability for us to impose an additional condition.
Okay, thank you for your clarification on that. One follow-up, Martin.
Well, I believe in communication, and I believe that we could ask the owner of that property whether they are willing to put up a fence in light of the new information that wasn't given to us.
Well, that may be something our staff will have to consider, but in terms of the businesses before us now, the mechanics aren't there to do it in this respect. Yes, Amanda, you okay there?
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I am okay. I mean, I think staff, we are, Aaron, I'll have you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we'd be comfortable to share that as feedback that was shared for members of council for the owner's consideration. But as noted by Aaron, there is no mechanism through which we can require that. And the zoning approval before you is a condition of the already approved severance of council. So I know you understand that, just noting.
I know, but I think the magic word there, Councillor Vink, was communication, and the staff will endeavor to do that. You can be assured of that, and I think that's I would certainly support that as well and remind them of that. Okay, one more. That's it, Martin.
Yeah, I'd like to have a recorded vote.
Okay. All righty. Yep, just hang on here. Yep. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I just wanted to clarify this. There's no way possibly that we can defer this to make the request for a fence, that it's not possible. I would like to support this, but I don't feel I can based on the information from the previous that Councillor Binks brought up. But if the fence could be a remedy, but if we can't defer, we can't defer it.
Okay.
Through you, Mayor, to council. So I will probably need some support from Aaron, but as noted, whether the approval is deferred or not, there is no formal mechanism through a zoning bylaw amendment process to impose conditions. The time for a condition to be discussed would have been at the time of the approval of the severance, which does, as you know, allow for the imposition of conditions, although requiring a fence is an unusual condition is an unusual condition to request or be implemented. So I don't think deferral of this would provide council any additional tools to accomplish that goal. But as noted, we can certainly share that feedback with the applicants for their consideration.
Okay. Last call for questions. Yes, Councillor McGill, please go ahead. Thanks for your patience, Mark.
Yeah, so through the mayor to the planner, I see this application wants to have things zoned, so potentially a second house could be built, but where would that second house go? Because I'm looking at that map. I don't see where you would put a second house, but yeah.
Aaron, can you address that?
Certainly, through the councillor to through the councillor. So they are not proposing a residential use at this time. It's to provide them to have flexibility in the future. When they provided their private servicing plan, which showed all the septic information, they proposed the house fronting onto concession behind the commercial use. So it wouldn't be adjacent to the new house that's going in. It would actually be fronting onto the other road concession. So again, it also provides flexibility if the commercial use, if they're unable to sell the property in the future as a commercial use, it would give them some flexibility that it could be used instead for residential purposes.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. We'll full one follow-up, Mark.
Well, I wondered that if it would have to be a house kind of in behind and laneway going out onto concession. But I have heard that I've never met this applicant, but I've heard he's got quite a few employees and some of them are local. So it sounds like he would be a good addition to our community.
Okay. We've got that. Okay, council, we have to make a decision on this. I think it's been clarified that we are unable to make conditions on this. That is merely part of our governance policy, that is not a possibility, but you have assurances from staff that they will be in communication with the developer and that council's concerns will be expressed to him. Is there a mover and a seconder for the recommendation?
You have the
Done?
mover and
Okay, thank
seconder.
you. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did
okay.
we want the
Getting
recorded
weird.
vote as
Yes,
requested by
recorded
Councillor
vote, and
Vink?
I'll let you call it, Colleen, please.
Okay, so Councillor Myers, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Vink,
Keep it loud.
Yes.
Yes.
Councillor Vink,
No.
Deputy Mayor Schultes,
No.
Mayor Mayhew,
Yes.
Councillor McCollum, Councillor McGill, Councillor Emery,
Yes.
carried.
Okay, thank you very much, Colleen. And thank you, council. We have 73 is done. The resolution has been carried. We'll move to 7.4. Temporary use and zoning bylaw amendment application P14 2025. Submitted by ENG Plus Limited on behalf of Paul Cieslik, 5019 Glendon Drive. Alana, will you take us through this, please?
Thank you, Mayor, through you. So the purpose and effect of the application for temporary use is to permit the construction of a residential accessory building in the form of a garage/shop without having a principal dwelling on the property for a temporary period not to exceed 3 years. And within 3 years, the applicant will be required to remove the existing uninhabitable dwelling and construct a new single detached dwelling to ensure a residential use is the primary use of the lands, or the shop would need to be removed. The purpose and effect of the application for zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject property from the rural residential zone to a site-specific rural residential zone to permit an accessory building with a height of 6.4 meters and a maximum floor area of 227 square meters, whereas the zoning bylaw permits a maximum height of 4.5 meters and a maximum floor area of 200 square meters for accessory buildings. Also, the application seeks to permit a single detached dwelling to have a setback of 33.5 meters from the center line of an arterial road, so in this case, Glendon Drive, whereas the bylaw requires buildings and structures to be set back at least 38 meters from the center line of an arterial road. So the applicant is seeking to construct an accessory building on the property prior to constructing their principal dwelling, as the existing shop at their current residence will be removed to accommodate a new single detached dwelling, leaving them without a shop during their transition. And the applicant advised that they wish to make the proposed dwelling on the subject lands their long-term residence. The applicant is requesting the increased height and area for the shop to provide sufficient space to accommodate vehicles and an RV. And the applicant is requesting the reduced front yard setback of the dwelling to allow the dwelling to be centered on the lot, while also allowing an adequate distance from Glendon Drive with regard to traffic, noise, and salt spray. The lands are designated agricultural within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zoned rural residential within the zoning bylaw. So with regard to the request for temporary use, the Planning Act allows for the council of a local municipality to pass a bylaw to authorize temporary use of land for a period of time not to exceed 3 years from the date of the passing of the bylaw. And the Southwest Middlesex official plan allows for temporary uses for up to 3 years. And it also provides evaluation criteria for these types of applications. From staff's evaluation, staff is of the opinion that the criteria has been met or is capable of being met by having the owners enter into a temporary use agreement with the municipality. And given the technical nature of the temporary use agreement, staff would like the opportunity to have the agreement reviewed by legal counsel as part of the due diligence process. So staff therefore is recommending that the bylaw be given 2 readings, with the bylaw being brought forward for council's consideration of a 3rd reading once the temporary use agreement has been executed. So staff have contacted the applicant to share this information. And so a draft agreement will be brought forward for council's consideration at that time for the 3rd reading. And the agreement will include a requirement for the payment of a $5,000 security deposit, and that would be due at the time of the issuance of the building permit. So with regard to the rezoning request to allow for an increased maximum height and increased maximum floor area for accessory buildings, the applicant has requested to increase the height to 6.4 meters. And the bylaw requires or permits a height of a maximum of 4.5 meters. And a floor area of 227 square meters, whereas the bylaw allows for a maximum of 200 square meters. And again, this is requested to increase, the increased heights requested to allow the storage of vehicles such as an RV and custom cars, which are to be placed on lifts inside the structure. And the request for increased floor area is being sought as the applicant requires additional interior storage for the RV, custom cars, trailer, and a pickup truck for safety purposes, as they do not wish to store these vehicles and trailers outside. The intent of limiting height and floor area of an accessory building in a residential zone is to ensure that accessory buildings remain subordinate to the primary use of the property. And in this case, the applicant has advised that the structure would be used for personal storage, and it would be located within a rear yard setback further from the road than the proposed dwelling. And also, it would be smaller in size than the proposed dwelling. So it would be visually and functionally subordinate to the residential use of the lands. With regard to the request to allow for a reduced setback from an arterial road, the applicant seeks to permit the single detached dwelling to have a setback of 33.5 meters. And that's to ensure that the dwelling is centered on the lot and also allowing adequate distance from Glendon Drive. So the intent of a setback from the center line of an arterial road is to provide an appropriate separation distance between built form and the traveled portion of the road for vehicular and pedestrian safety. No concerns were identified by the county engineer or the public works manager. And additionally, the requested setback for the proposed dwelling is greater than the setback of the existing uninhabitable dwelling on the lands. So staff is of the opinion that the requested setback would still provide an adequate distance from Glendon Drive. And the dwelling would be located approximately 28 meters from the edge of the pavement of the road. Staff note that the proposed dwelling and accessory building appear to meet all other requirements of the RR zone. So based on the foregoing, staff is of the opinion the requested zoning bylaw amendment to permit an increased height and floor area for an accessory building and a reduced setback from the center line of an arterial road is consistent with the provincial planning statement and in conformity with the County of Middlesex and Southwest Middlesex official plans. So with regard to comments received during the circulation of the public meeting notice, comments were received from the Public Works Manager, Drainage Superintendent, County Engineer, Chief Building Official, St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, and the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority. And these comments can be found in the report or attached to the report. And no public comments have been received to date. So staff recommend that the report be received for information and that the zoning bylaw amendment be granted in principle, limited to first and second readings of the implementing zoning bylaw, and that the implementing bylaw for temporary use agreement, as well as the draft of the agreement, be brought forward for council's consideration at a future meeting once the owner enters into the temporary use agreement. And further, that the final reading of the zoning bylaw be provided at a future meeting once the owners enter into a temporary use agreement with the municipality to ensure that the use of the lands is residential. And staff recommend this for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alana, for bringing that forward. The applicant will be allowed to speak. Paul Cislek, Sir Paul, make yourself comfortable and we'll turn that microphone on. You're good to go.
Well, hello there again.
Yep.
Paul Cislak here. Basically, just want to say, like Alana basically made it very clear what's the whole purpose of the shop. I have one in London, has to get demolished to build another house. I wish I could do it all at once, but I can't. I have to do that one first to make this happen. I gotta like sell one, and then basically it comes down to money. Bought this place like a few years ago. I'm pretty sure all of you probably drove by it. There was a big school bus there. At one point, it was an eyesore. Had notices from the municipality to clean it up. I did. It was very hard to maintain it. Anyways, I'm finally ready to make it all happen, make it look nice and pretty, and make it my primary residence for forever, I hope. So thank you very much, and hopefully we can make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul, for that. Council, you've been advised there's no oral or written submissions. Final comments from the applicant. You're okay there? All right, thumbs up on that one. Council, we make a decision. Just a reminder to council that the resolution before us is to receive the planning report for information and to give first and second reading to the zoning bylaw amendment. If council gives a first and second reading to the amending bylaw, the bylaw would come back to us at a future meeting for a third reading and approval, as well as an additional bylaw with the temporary use agreement. So this will come back to us again, council, and that's been explained by the planner very well. The recommendation is before you that it be granted in principle. We will certainly ask, offer the opportunity for questions at this point. Deputy Mayor Solis, go ahead.
Say I'm looking forward to seeing this get built, and I'll make the recommendation.
Good. Second for that, please. Councilor McCollum. Good. All right. Yep. Question. Mark McGill, Councilor McGill.
Yep, I got a question for the planner or maybe the owner even. One of the neighboring property owners asked me to ask this. He was wondering about water. Now, I know there was a house there before, but that area doesn't have very good well water, and it's a condition to get to build a house. You're supposed to have water. And the condition of building this building is to build a house within 3 years. So I just wondered, is there a well there? Is there a good well there? Or because it could be a problem if they can't get water.
Go ahead.
Okay, so there's a well there. I personally, as a builder, never built a house on a well or septic, so this would be my first time. I haven't reached out to any contractors into regards to a well, so I'll be straight up that could it be a problem? I have no idea, but it's something that I'm going to be definitely looking into, as I've already done the septic design and all that stuff. So, which I haven't submitted. You know, we don't have to because it just happened. So,
all right. No, we realize there's a number of steps involved in this, and yeah. Councilor McCollum, go ahead.
Yes, don't we have a water line run through there?
I was thinking the same thing. There's not one there.
What, that far?
stops at Appen.
Okay.
This way,
No.
There's
Oh, it
one
goes
there.
up Parkhouse.
I wish there was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But as far as I know, I think they can be done. It's just how deep you have to go,
Yeah.
which will be all on
I think
me,
so.
my cost.
Yeah, we have pressure problems in Appen anyway, so, you know,
And then if
yeah.
I have to do like a backup, possibly, like obviously we'll determine that as I talk to like a well contractor.
Yeah.
Then that's what I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah, well, I tell you, people truck water every day in our municipality. I see their trucks going through every day, trucking water. Okay, staff, it's been moved and seconded, and you understand the the ramifications of it coming back for a third reading. Chair will call the question. All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you very much, Paul. We are now at number 8. Thank you, planners, for your diligent work there. We have done 7.5. We can put that to bed. So 8.1, Chief Administrative Officer, no report at this time. And Clerk, no report at this time. Finance, no report at this time. And Public Works, Bridge and Culvert tender results. We have before us. This came under budget, and no concerns were expressed by staff. Would someone like to speak to this? Okay, Amanda, please. Yeah, introduce it.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. So on behalf of Mauro today, in his absence, happy to present this report for 2025 deferred work on our bridges and culverts. As noted in the report, 4 compliant bids were received for the rehabilitation of 6 bridges and culverts, with Vandenberg Construction Inc. submitting the lowest bid at $178,837, which is significantly below the engineer's pre-tender estimate, which we love to see. The project is fully funded within the approved 2025 capital budget, with funds being carried forward into 2026 and aligns with our OSIM priorities and long-term infrastructure renewal plans. Staff and SPREET have reviewed the submissions and are recommending award to Vandenberg Construction with authorization from the mayor and clerk to execute any necessary documents.
Okay, thank you.
That sounds like ice cream.
Any questions from council? Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just see that there's an awful big difference in the prices here, and I just wondered if there's any concerns with that at all. Like if there's $180,000 difference from this bid to the next lowest.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor. No, we don't have any concerns. Again, we have reviewed the bid packages to ensure quantities and labor hours identified were in line with what was expected. So this does sometimes happen with bids, and we're always happy to achieve any savings that we can.
Do you know if we've worked with Vandenberg Construction before?
Offhand, I do not, but again, they met all of the requirements of the bid process.
Okay, all requirements have been met and it's under budget. Any further questions? Last call. Okay, recommendation is before you. Is there a mover and a seconder for this, please? Councillor Vink moved it. Seconder, Councillor McCollum seconded the motion. All in favor? Carried. Yeah, it seemed like we're getting some rain out there, council. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Is it? Yeah. Is it freezing rain? Yeah. Sounds like it, yeah. Yeah, I know we were near 0 degrees, 1 or 2 degrees at one point there. Okay, we have a new drain petition. Section 4, Andrew, is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a continuation of a report that went to council, I believe, in November to accept the petition. This is to appoint the engineer. A quick background piece of information about this is that there is an existing tile in the red line of the map that was built sometime before 1928. There is an engineer's report that specifies that the existing tile is not a portion of the municipal drain. However, the petition that was received late last year is petitioning for that to become a municipal drain reconstructed under the Drainage Act. And so at this point, I recommend that council appoints Spreet and Associates for Range 1 South Lot 17
for the former Eckford Township to construct a new branch of the Hyman Drain, tentatively at this point called the Manser Branch. I'm open to any questions.
Council, any questions? Yes, Martin, go ahead.
This matter of personal interest, Andrew, how do you come up with a name like Master Branch?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor, that was the petitioner's name.
Oh, okay.
Typically, they have the privilege to name a drain, and if they don't want to name it after themselves, they can name it anything they want.
I didn't realize there was a master that lived around there, so.
Like the Hagel Drain. Yeah. Okay. Any further questions, council? Not seeing any. Recommendation is before you to proceed. Is there a mover and a second for that? Councilor McGill moved the motion and Councilor Haggett seconded it. Last call for questions. All in favor? Carried. Okay, government, Andrew, again, government drain number 3, branch line. Can you walk council through this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This branch appears to have been constructed under an engineer's report in 1970. And there has been other reports to the drain in general, but nothing to this branch since then. What the request is here under 78 is that a increased size of the branch and that a portion of the open ditch that acts as an outlet for the existing tile drain be enclosed as a tile. At this point, no, it is unclear the full extent of the project because we haven't had any meetings or notices yet. But at this point, I would recommend that council accepts the request under section 78 of the Drainage Act for Lot 8 concession 2, former Mozo Township, to enclose a portion of the downstream end of the government drain 3 branch line and to reconstruct the upstream section, and that staff provide notice to the any other landowners, and that staff report back to council on the results of the notification. I'm open for any questions at this point.
Thank you very much. Council, questions to Andrew through the chair? Are there any? Yes, go ahead, Councilor Vink.
Mayor, Andrew, when you look at the blue line, that's the open drain right now. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the dark blue is the government drain 3. And then I guess you'd say the lighter but more highlighted blue is the branch line. And then the section next to or just immediately west of the government drain open ditch is a portion of the open drain. So it's kind of confusing unless you zoom right in. But the tile portion is on the corner or the Gardner property, if that helps at all. And then it continues up into the Weber property. And that's what part of the is being requested for a reconstruction.
Well, my question was, Andrew, whether the government drain that's going to be closed, is that on 2 different farms?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, at this point, we know of one farm enclosure. We don't know about downstream. That landowner may say no, may say yes. I don't know at this point.
Okay, last call for questions. Recommendation is before you. Is there a mover and a seconder? Councilor Haggett, seconder for that. Councilor Vink, thank you. All in favor? It's carried. Andrew, thank you very much for those 3 reports. It's good to have you back, Andrew. Good. 8.5, community services and facilities, there are none. 8.6, fire, there are none. 8.7, building, none at this time. 8.8, planning, none at this time. The chair has not been advised of any notices of motion. Correspondence and petitions, there's none. Unfinished business, none. And nothing directed towards new business at this time, none. County Council and Conference updates, 13.1, I provided the report. I think that speaks on behalf of the other attendees, and I'm sure that they probably took in more than I did and other units. But anyway, it was a good conference, and I think we came back with some successes. Announcements, are there any? None. Closed session.
Mayor, could we please receive your report?
Oh.
Could we receive your report?
Receive the
please?
report.
Thank you.
Okay, receive the motion to receive the report. Let's present it. Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Scholes, seconder. Councilor Haggett, all in favor. Good. Colleen, thank you for that. Announcements. Well, again, I don't think there's none, but I had two great meals and pancakes on Stroke Tuesday. Worked out good on Sunday. Closed session, there is none at this meeting. Businesses arising from the closed session, obviously none. Let's see what else we got. Turn the page. We've got bylaws. We'll take these through one at a time because we know they're important. Bylaw 2026-13 being a provisional bylaw to provide for a drainage works behind the James Lethbridge drain. This will be first and second reading. And if you have any concerns, just raise your hand. Bylaw 2026-14 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2011/065 beyond custom carpentry 22760 Pratt Siding. 17.3 bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw of Paul Silax 5019 Glendon Drive, first and second reading. These will come back to us. Bylaw 2026-16 being a bylaw to adopt the budgetary estimates for the year 2026. Thank you, Denise, for that. Bylaw 2026-017 being a bylaw to reduce the size of council for the corporation of the municipality of Southwest Middlesex, effective for the 2030 municipal election year. And council, you've been advised of the history of that. But that bylaw will be in place to give direction to people that will come after us. 17.6 bylaw 2026-18 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this meeting February 18th. Mover to seconder, and I'll ask questions after that. Mover to seconder, please. Okay. Moved by Haggett, seconded by McCollum. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Questions? None. All in favor? Sorry, I don't want to be accused of not listening to your concerns. Okay, future meetings, March 4th and March 18th are there, and we're going to get out of here before curfew, I think. Adjournment at 8:33. A mover and second, please. Councilor Myers, Councilor McGill, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Council, very much. And certainly thank you to all staff. It was a long meeting, lots to unpack.